Good evening. Gordon Strachan was non-committal on his future as Scotland manager following last night's defeat to Slovakia. The 3-0 loss in Trnava heaps pressure on the national team boss, with qualification for the World Cup in Russia looking increasingly unlikely. Just 3 games into their qualifying campaign, Scotland's World Cup dreams lie in tatters. Can you understand why, after a result like tonight, some people will question whether you should continue as the manager?
Well, the most important thing tonight is the players and the fans. They're the most important thing.
The Scottish Cup has ravaged Hibs with torment over recent years. They haven't tasted success on this stage since 1902, but after missing out on promotion, a chance for them to arrive here in Glasgow tomorrow and end their season on a high. When Celtic step out into the new camp tomorrow evening, it will signal the end of their European adventures this season. But there can be few venues in world football that whet the appetite for fans and supporters, quite like the home of Barcelona. Well, Andy Murray returns to competitive tennis here this week for the first time since losing that Australian Open final to Novak Djokovic. It's also his first appearance since becoming a father. So how much will that shift in his off-court priorities affect his desire to help Britain retain the Davis Cup? Good evening from a rather soggy Tynecastle on the day. Hearts introduced Ian Cathro as their new head coach. Hearts' appointment of Ian Cathro has been met in footballing circles by a mixture of curiosity, expectation and mystique. Scotland will arrive here tomorrow night for their 3rd match in Group F, and there's plenty at stake for both sides. For Slovakia, it really is a must-win match, while Gordon Strachan's team can ill afford to leave here empty-handed, with some suggesting their hopes of reaching the World Cup in Russia in 2 years' time are already hanging by a thread. Well, the stage is set and the stakes could hardly be higher. We've reached the knockout phase of the Rugby World Cup, a chance for Scotland to pit their wits against the very best, and it doesn't get much more difficult than Australia. I'm joined by Chris Patterson, who's won more Scotland caps than anyone else. Chris, how difficult a challenge will this be on Sunday?
Oh, it's a big challenge, a really big challenge. Australia, the form team of the tournament, they've only conceded 2 tries in 4 games.
And now here's Paul with today's sports, and a big weekend ahead of sport, of course.
Yes, indeed. It's the Scottish Cup 4th round. One of the highlights, always one of the highlights in the Scottish football calendar. Ian Cathro says the squad he inherited at Hearts lacked experience and fight, and he's determined to make further additions before the transfer window shuts. Cathro could field 4 debutants for Sunday's visit to Starks Park in the Scottish Cup, a tie that will pit Raith Rovers boss Gary Locke against his former club. Well, let's talk more about tomorrow's game. I'm joined by Scott Hastings, who played in 3 Rugby World Cups. How does Scotland approach this game tomorrow?
Well, it's a tough one, without any shadow of doubt.
Now, it's been a momentous weekend for Hibs. Let's cross live to Paul, who's at Easter Road with all of today's sports.
Well, what a weekend for Hibernian. 114 years of Scottish Cup torment are over. It's all pretty subdued here at Easter Road just now, but in a moment we'll show you how the players and supporters celebrated on the streets of Edinburgh. Hearts captain Perry Kitchen says the age of his new coach Ian Cathro is irrelevant, but admits he hadn't heard of the 30-year-old before he took over at Tynecastle. The Gorgie club travel to Ibrox tomorrow to play a Rangers side looking to avenge a 2-0 defeat when the sides met last week. Thanks, Rahman. As you say, quite a few days for Scottish sport, and it will continue here in Newcastle on Saturday. All pretty quiet by the Tyne at the moment, but come the weekend, this place will be absolutely jumping. Tens of thousands of Scotland fans will make the journey south, hoping to watch their team reach the quarter-finals of the World Cup. Good evening. Sir Andy Murray says he's enjoying the pressure of being world #1 despite looking well below par in his first-round victory at the Australian Open. The Scot advanced in straight sets against Ilya Marchenko to set up a second-round clash with Andrei Rublev on Wednesday. Graham Alexander reports. Well, I'm delighted to be joined now by the former Hibs captain, Hibs legend Pat Stanton. Pat, thanks very much for joining us this evening. How do you see this tie panning out?
Well, it's difficult to read this one. It's over 2 games, and anything could happen at this stage of the season. And
that's all from me tonight ahead of the first leg of the playoff semi-final. It's Hibernian against Falkirk. We can see the Falkirk players are just coming off the team bus just now to arrive ahead of their preparations for the big match. John Baird there, their top striker. Feeling good, John? Yeah, OK. And Craig Sibbald, several of the Falkirk players just coming past me. It should be a cracking tie. It's a cracking night for a game, and we'll have all the reaction on tomorrow night's programme. Scotland and the loyal Tartan Army have been here before. Hope, optimism and belief, but it's been far too long since the national side gave fans what they really crave, a place at a major tournament. However, victory here in Poland tonight would go some way to reinforcing a new sense of confidence that's radiating throughout Gordon Strachan's squad. Having contested 8 Grand Slam finals, Andy Murray is no stranger to the big occasion. But this weekend he'll need the support of the entire Great Britain squad, for whom this is uncharted territory and an opportunity to win the biggest team prize in tennis. Led by 2 brothers from Dunblane, Britain created history when they landed their first Davis Cup title for 79 years. The challenge now is to build on that success in the hope of one day producing a conveyor belt of future Jamie and Andy Murrays. Small-sided games finish off the session with mixed results for the club's new trialist. So, after a morning of hard graft, did I manage to catch the manager's eye? Do you think there's a place for me in the team this Tuesday for the game against Livingston?
Well, we've just had a discussion with the players and the staff, and we've managed to come up with a role that we think would suit you.
Okay,
and
sounds good.
It would be picking the discs up.
Oh, well, it's not what I had in mind, but anyway, I suppose you take the job that's given to you. Thanks, Alan. Cheers. Okay.